You're watching Eyewitness News tonight, live at 5 o'clock on this Friday. And again, first tonight, that breaking news, a step closer to more normalcy and more things being open in North Carolina.
Now at 5 o'clock, North Carolina is officially in phase 1. Well, we're just seconds away from seconds away from that reopening plan. But the question is, how much will it help the hundreds of thousands of families who are out of work? Here's what's going to change for you really at this moment. Now you can go into places like clothing stores, craft stores, bookstores, also state parks and trails. But keep in mind, this means that workers at those businesses can finally start to go back to earning a living again. Still off limits though, movie theaters, salons, and gyms still closed. Right now, that paycheck is beyond a necessity for so many. In just 1 month, again, more than 20 million jobs simply vanished. The unemployment rate, it is now at its highest since the Great Depression at nearly 15%. Today is really a turning point for us in this pandemic in more ways than one, and that's why we have live team coverage for you now explaining how things are changing and what the fallout from all this could be. We begin with Channel 9's Gina Esposito. Gina, walk us through the changes happening right now.
Yeah, I want to show you the immediate impact. You know, it just hit 5 o'clock here. Boris and Natasha retail shop here in Plaza just reopened. You can see their orange sign out front. We've been seeing that in a couple of weeks now. They're only going to be open for 2 hours, but they tell me they'll take the business if customers show up. Starting tomorrow at 11 a.m., David Frankel can reopen his kiosk at South Park Mall. You may remember when his shop closed, he and his son got new jobs at Papa John's.
So I'm definitely looking forward to getting a full-time income going again, paying some bills I couldn't pay during this period of time. Obviously, Papa John pays enough to pay some utilities, but we had to defer bills like everybody else.
Frankel is looking forward to seeing customers again, as are other employees at South Park Mall. This is the first day back for Kimberly Ricks at Belk. She's been on furlough for weeks, relying on a company relief fund and unemployment to pay bills.
That's really, really good that we're pretty stable right now, because a lot of people that I do know don't have jobs to go back to. So I am grateful for that.
Belk store manager Suzanne Kilborn says about 90% of their staff, or around 100 employees, are back. They've been getting the store ready to open on Monday.
We're excited to live in this new kind of way and taking safety precautions and thinking differently and embracing however the customer feels comfortable shopping.
With safety in mind, customers won't be able to try on clothes or shoes, and any returns will be in quarantine for 72 hours. Belk also said that their employees will be wearing masks and they'll have their temperature checked before their shift. Now, while big companies like Belk are taking their time to reopen, small businesses like this one opened right away. Join me in 1 hour. I'll show you another small business in Charlotte that has opened with safety in mind. Erica.
All right, so you can tell people are energized and really getting excited to go back to work. Thank you, Gina. Phase 1 will also bring changes to the way that you worship. Well, now churches are allowed to hold services outdoors. People can either stay in their cars for a drive-in style service or get out as long as they practice social distancing. And that means staying about 6 feet apart, wearing masks. Churches will not be allowed to let people inside until at least May 22nd. And even then, it will be only at a 50% capacity. Again, phase 1 could last 2 to 3 weeks, and if things go well, then we'll move into phase 2. That is when the actual stay-at-home order would be lifted, though people who are vulnerable to complications should still stay at home. This is when restaurants and bars can start to reopen their dining rooms at a limited capacity. The same would go for gyms, entertainment venues, and again, places of worship. Public playgrounds, they will also be able to open in phase 2. Phase 3 would not come for at least 4 to 6 weeks after phase 2, and that's when more people will be allowed inside restaurants and other businesses. Now we want to go to more breaking news. South Carolina already moving into its next phase, rolling back even more restrictions, even letting people inside restaurants. Channel 9's Greg Suskin is joining us live to break down more about what you can and can't do. We just heard Governor McMaster in that news conference, and Greg, he had a lot to say.
He sure did, and the governor saying earlier this week that by the end of the week he wanted to lay out some more rules about restaurants. He did that only about 30 minutes ago, saying that as of this coming Monday, all restaurants will be able to open up to 50% capacity. So whatever the fire marshal says is the capacity of that restaurant, they can open up to 50% of that. Some of the restrictions are kind of the same things we heard for the outdoor dining. Tables 6 to 8 feet apart, only 8 people per table. So some of that's familiar, but the governor also said that no condiments will be allowed to be on any of the tables. They'll have to be specifically requested. All surfaces, doorknobs, tables, chairs, things like that will have to be constantly wiped down, and people will have to maintain social distancing as well. And he really put a lot on the owners of restaurants, saying it's up to them, saying they don't have to open if they don't want to, and they can decide with their own staff, their own clientele, exactly what they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they want to do it. But they're allowed now to open up to that 50% capacity. Of course, one of the biggest remaining questions is what about the nail salons, the hair salons, the gyms, those close personal contact businesses? The governor simply said he would address that on Monday. A lot of other states are beginning to open those types of businesses. We expect a major announcement on that first thing next week. Back to you.
All right, Greg, now 40 states have now at least partially reopened. Opinions on that are mixed and honestly a real focus of many debates you see on social media. There was an ABC Ipsos poll released today, and they say that 64% of the people who they spoke to or responded to their question think that reopening the country now is not worth it if it means more lives lost, which we don't know the answer to at this point. Well, South Carolina has been in phase 1 of reopening for a few days now. We saw further measures announced for Monday today. So far, there has been no dramatic jump in cases. There are 7,367 cases statewide.
As North Carolina begins phase 1, we've seen a jump of nearly 500 cases overnight. There are now 13,868 cases in the Tar Heel State. The state has been ramping up its testing. Of course, that could play a role in these increased numbers.
And of course, there are millions of families out there who are depending on this reopening process.
Yes, we've not had this many people out of work since the country started tracking the unemployment rate back in 1948. Take a look at this number. We can't say this enough, it's huge. 20.5 million Americans have lost their jobs. Those are real people with real bills, real families that need to be taken care of. The layoffs over the last 2 months have been so severe that they wiped out 11 years of job gains. Action 9's Jason Stujenki is continuing our live team coverage. Jason, try to go in and put this more into perspective for everyone.
Yeah, well, Erica, just think about it. Back in February, not too long ago, of course, we were in great shape, actually the best shape in about 50 years. Unemployment was down to just 3.5%. Can you believe that? 3.5%. But then here we are, just a few months, and all of that good just washed away. Everyone wants to compare this to the Great Depression, where just like today, the nation saw lines at food banks. But we can't. Modern record keeping started after World War II. What we can say is this: it's the worst since then. So the worst in more than 70 years. The hardest hit areas: leisure and hospitality, food and beverage, retail, education, and health. I know health sounds surprising during a pandemic, but think of all the medical practices that have cut back. And the government says the real figure may be even worse than 14.7%. Its survey takers classified a lot of people a certain way, so they didn't factor into the total unemployment figure. If they had, the feds say April's jobless rate would have been more like 20%.
We've been surviving, you know what I mean? Like, we've been able to make it. But it would help having that extra income so that way we know we're not going to, because like I said, you know, with the shortages and everything, we don't know what's going to protect, we don't have no protection for the future.
And of course, now a whole new layer to all of this. You have all these businesses that can reopen. So in theory, a lot more folks can go back to work. So coming up at 6, I'm asking if all of that is enough to stop the bleeding and maybe turn things around. Erica?
Well, Jason, I know that you've also been getting a lot of calls from people who've waited hours to get a hold of someone at the unemployment office. Have you heard from them that that has gotten any better?
Yeah, they've continued to make changes at the State Department of Commerce. Even this morning, I heard that the Commerce Department is hiring another 1,000 people for the call center to take calls. So that should about double the staff handling these claims.
All right, that's good news. Thank you, Jason. A nearly 15% unemployment rate is terrible, but it's not even the true scope of the crisis. You heard a bit there. There are still millions of Americans who were not counted in that number. The report only counts workers as unemployed if they were out of work and searched for a job in the past 4 weeks, or if they were on a temporary layoff. It does not count the millions of workers who lost their jobs and did not search for work because of the stay-at-home orders.